All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Real Solution Podcast. It's your boy Brandon Bad of Brandon Bad Entertainment, here with our wonderful redheads who is still pissed off about everything in the world, and our special guest, Laura Luhu. What's up, girl?
Absolutely nothing. Literally nothing.
All right, well, the conversation is still hot. We're on to the next topic. What's going on, redhead?
Well, the one thing that's in all of the news right now is I just learned of this group of 4 called the Squad. Now, I knew who each of them. I knew who they were individually, but I didn't know that they have now deemed themselves the Squad, and it consists of AOC, Presley, Tlaib, and Omar.
Oh, more politics. Got you.
Oh yeah, we're back to immigration.
Now, are these all Congress people?
Yes, they're all Democrat Congress people.
Oh, you said that so aggressive.
Democrat.
Well, because
every syllable.
Did we talk about that?
Every
we did not, but
very pronounced.
You know what? I don't like Republican or Democrat. I am registered as a Republican. Mm-hmm. However, there are some things I feel very strongly about on a humanitarian side, which is supposed to be what the Democrats are. But unfortunately, the Democrats have gone so far off the left deep end that they don't even make sense. This that I'm going to talk about with you guys tonight is one of those things.
Well, I understand. You know, people have gotten lost in the whole party situation. So, you know, I think I was raised to be a Democrat based on how society was and my family and all that. But as you become more knowledgeable in politics, you know, it's really hard to say, you know, am I a Republican or am I a Democrat? Because people are the party for the wrong reason.
Oh, yeah.
When in fact, the objective is to represent, and people are not failing to do so.
Well, I don't think the parties represent what they used to.
No.
I mean, and they were switched at one point in time, too. So
exactly.
They're definitely all jacked up.
So I think it should be the issue, not the party.
Yeah.
It is. And I really think the two-party system is archaic. It needs to go away.
Archaic?
We need to build
Is that the era
up
you were born?
these.
Oh, not an era.
Oh, I got the finger.
Finger guns.
we need to build up some of the Libertarian Party and the what's the I can't remember.
Green Party, Independent Party.
The independent parties. Those we need to have, but it can't be just what the party wants. We've got to get people in these offices who do what they're supposed to do for the people. What happened with the Squad here recently?
Squad.
Okay, here's why I keep doing that. It's because back in the day, I used to work at a call center, and in the group that I started
Were you
with,
fired from the call center? Squad.
That's none of your concern. But the group
Wow. Anywho.
The group I used to work with, we used to call ourselves Squad 19.
Okay.
We were always
because you were insane people.
We were.
Okay.
We were in the 19th room, and we were the best. So every time we walk in, we say, Squad!
So we're going to say, Squad 204 from now on.
And every time you say it, I think you're going to say Squad.
Squad! Where you at? Squad 206.
Squad 204.
Anyways, I happened to be listening to hearing the House hearings.
Oh, the poor people who listen to this.
I know. But you know what? We've got to get people more involved.
It's true.
The country is we're on our way into being a shambles, and you know what?
On our way? We are already there.
I mean, there's a long ways we can still go.
Convince me otherwise.
Well, the border is the big hot issue, and we've talked about size of the border and things like that, and we still want to hear everybody's thoughts of what the resolutions are. A couple of the big resolutions we had, one was that Mark really thinks that these international countries have got to take more of a stake in these South American countries that are having the issues. If more of those big businesses and corporations set up house down there, it would help to disrupt the dictators and
Well, according to the news, honey, J.P. Morgan was swindling in cocaine, so I don't know if I want the big company.
It's a great bank, okay?
I don't know if I want the companies involved.
It is a fun bank.
And there is a pitfall.
I used to.
But
I can tell you were a member of the bank.
We have to get back, like we talked about in other episodes, corporate responsibility and respect has got to turn around. There used to be, probably the earlier baby boomers than I am. Once upon a time, corporate America took care of you.
Yeah.
You had good medical insurance. You had pensions. You had things that the company made sure that you had what you needed. Now, yes, there was, and we're not going as far back as the company stores and all that. But during the service era, when all the car companies were coming up and they took care of people, then all of a sudden, your CEOs and your stockholders said, we want more money. Yeah. And so where did it come from? They started taking it away from your pension and your insurance. Now, to find a company that gives you a pension,
far and few between.
Very hard to find.
Yeah. My grandmother, I remember she had a pension, and it's just not heard of anymore.
Yeah. I mean, like, companies used to take care. You could live and die by your company very easily. Like, when my dad joined IBM, they gave him stock out the yin-yang.
Well, and companies also tell you up front nowadays, you're replaceable. So people don't have commitment like they used to. People would stay with companies through thick and thin.
Till you died. Like, that's where you started, and that's where you would retire. Boom, boom.
I had a lady last night tell me she retired, I want to say, from State Farm.
Yeah.
And she had friends that were retired. These kids came out of high school, went to work for State Farm, and that, and they're retiring now.
Yeah. We're talking years. But companies don't do that no more. And companies are very blatant, but they'll tell you, I used to work for Target. I have no problem saying that. And they definitely told you, if for some reason you died, we'd pay your family $500. That's how you were worth to them. So, there's the part of it. I understand business terms, money,
Target
your
a lot darker
count, but you're very blatant, and you tell your employees that's all you're worth. That's all they're worth in the event of their death. Well, we'll support your family. We know you've given us 15 years of your time, and we'll go ahead and we'll help them with $500 to compensate towards your life. Yeah. So companies aren't as committed. They have no value in it anymore.
No moral obligation.
Yep.
Right. And it has to come from a moral standpoint. And you know what? CEOs can get pissed off at me. I don't care. After you make a few $1 million, what else do you need? I mean, honest to goodness.
Because where are they investing it? I don't mind the profit building if it's being invested, and I'm not going to say properly, because who am I to say what's a proper investment for on your terms?
Well, are you giving back to the community?
Like Bill
Are you
Gates,
giving
right
back
there.
to the people who build? You know what? Because the CEO only runs the ship. I mean, they steer the ship. What runs it is every level of person underneath them, every time.
And what are you investing in? Are you investing in their work environment? Are you investing in their health plans? Are you investing in the equipment that they're operating with? What are you providing besides bringing in revenue?
Sure. Well, our Congress is becoming the same way. There is no moral obligation to their constituents. I really believe that there should be term limits. You guys tell me what you all think out there. But we've got career politicians that the minute they're elected, they start campaigning again.
Wait, so I don't know as much as I should. So there are no term limits in Congress?
No.
You can be reelected until you die.
Interesting.
And these ladies with the squad, I certainly hope they either change the way they go about what they're doing, or they get voted out. Hell, Alexia, I can't even remember her.
Who are these women?
Alexia
Ocasio-Cortez, AOC. She answered a damn casting call. I think we talked about that. She was a bartender. Now she's sitting up in Congress. Her district had, I want to say, 16,000 people. Part of the Bronx.
Okay.
Okay, so for crying out loud, her her degree was in economy. I'm not sure about Presley. Rashida Tlaib.
Yeah.
She's Muslim. I don't have a problem with that, as long as you are separating what has been touted as your religious view versus the government. And Ilhan Omar, she's the one that came from Somalia. She constantly touts negative things about America and how bad America is. You're in Congress, for crying out loud. You're supposed to be representing the United States. You're on a world platform now.
Now, is she putting down the U.S. in the sense of what their current doings are, or is she just ultimately saying then the U.S. is a bad place?
A little bit of both. She hates Trump. She's very vocal about that. Okay. She hates our stand on Israel. She hates Israel. She has not made any mince of her words about that. But you're supposed to represent the American people, not your own personal views anymore. Yeah. So now I don't trust her. I don't trust any of these four for the reasons of going back to the border. We've got a big issue right now with the detention at the border. I listened to one of the most heartbreaking testimonies, and it was from the young lady whose 2-year-old daughter died in detention.
Yeah.
I'd heard about that. I hadn't researched.
Oh my gosh. Her name is Yeneman or something like that. And I want to say her daughter's name was Maria. I've got goosebumps right now. It was the most horrendous testimony. She was very, she tried to stay calm and she couldn't. She went weeks and weeks trying to get assistance for her daughter. Now, do I think for 1 minute that this is the problem of the detention centers? Well, sure it is. Because we're not doing anything huge every time, and you can hate Trump, but you know what? He has at least tried. You may not like what he gets on there and tweets and says, because you know what? A lot of times I think he's a 2-year-old toddler on the school playground being a bully. But he has asked time and time again for help at the border. I have listened to multiple interviews with Border Patrol people who say they're overwhelmed. Some of them are doing jobs they're not supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be guarding the border. Instead, they're in some of what they referred to as cages, which are chain link areas that they've fenced off to detain these people. We can't have our cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
People elected Trump because they wanted something done for immigration.
Is that the only reason?
No. They wanted America back on the right track for America. People get pissed off about tariffs. Well, you know what? China's been raping us for years over our imports. Our imports have depleted so much that we're not making money off them. We've destroyed our own food supply and crops to the point that we're no longer the number one export for our grain. Other places don't want our grain. It's genetically modified.
God, because listen, they have fish farms. Do they have fish farms? I can't be eating fish. You can't trust the fish because they out here just cooking them up.
It depends. How do they? Well, you've got good ones and you've got bad ones. We've talked about doing a whole episode on our food supply because it's so scary. There is a
never go to a chicken factory.
No, God, no, don't.
And my husband won't eat hot dogs because he worked in a processing plant and said you don't want.
My dad worked at Kraft.
So, The border is no different. Trump asked for an unseemly, is that what
Unseemly. Yeah.
unseemly amount of money. I get that. To build up that border. But damn it, we have to do something. You can't, this whole hearing that I had, this guy, his name was Mr. Jordan. He was a high-ranking member of the House. And he took a stand, and he's right. He said, the Democrats refused to acknowledge that there was a crisis at the border for months, if not years. And if you go back and look at a lot of the stuff, there's no crisis down there. It's fake news. This is a manufactured crisis by Trump. Okay? Senator Warren even made a statement in the past, fear-mongering and creating a fake crisis is not something that we will fall prey to.
I remember hearing that statement, that fear-mongering word.
Our politics has overshadowed the real crisis on the border. All you have to do is get on the internet and look. Christ, I just saw the video of the man and his little girl who drowned coming across the Rio.
Sure did.
This is a country that was made of immigrants.
Yeah.
Immigration is something that we need to keep. We need to have. We have good people. The accountant for the podcast is an immigrant of 20 plus years ago. Wouldn't trade him for anything. He has really helped me with some issues that I had with taxes and things like that. But he did it legally. That's where we're losing sight. And I got really mad if you saw any of the debates for the Democrats.
I did not.
They all want open borders.
I have to listen to you enough debate. So.
But seriously,
What did they
you
want?
need to take a few
want
minutes
open
to
borders.
listen to some of this. California just passed a bill to allow undocumented to partake of, is the state-run Medicaid or Medicare? Is it Medicaid or Medicare? One's federal, one's local. They can now get their local medical insurance undocumented. They want them to be able to vote. But
also the part of that is that there's such a significant severance in like state-run stuff and federal. So while I may not say I don't disagree or agree with it, like the state representatives themselves have determined for the best interests of their state, that's what they want.
But it's illegal. You are propping up people who are illegally here, and this is the state that's on the verge of bankruptcy to begin with.
I have always said that the other responsibility is that they need to incorporate a plan to help them. Don't give them the opportunities and aid in the fact that they're still not legal. Give them some sort of, I don't want to say an ultimatum. I don't know what word I was going to say.
Old tomato.
Options.
But help, not enforce a plan, but give a plan B, I guess. Give them to say, this is what we need to happen, if you're going to take part in this. And we have to check in, do something to say, this is the plan this is the route you have to take in order to be a documented person.
Right. Give them stitches, not a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
That's great.
And we talked about that in one of the previous episodes.
Yeah.
We've shot ourselves in the foot from the American standpoint because we don't have any pathway for them.
No.
Here's the catch-22. This is why you have so many sanctuary cities. And our own Nashville mayor told them the other day when they were supposed to do raids across the country for ICE. If they knock on your door and they don't have a search warrant, don't open the door for them. We're here to support you. Like hell we are.
Well, don't you think that's the humanitarian side, though?
But no, that's what she just said. We're putting a Band-Aid on something that needs to have stitches put in to fix it. Because we don't give them an option. Here's the deal. You're illegal. So they don't want to tell us that they're still here illegally. because in order to get on the current pathway to citizenship now, if you've overstayed your visa, you came in illegally, I have to send you back to your country and for you to start those processes. Here's the catch-22. Once you're out of America, you can't return for 10 years.
So if I were illegal and someone came to my door and the mayor said, don't answer, and what you're saying is it's a Band-Aid versus stitches, right? So what if they went to every single door in Nashville and they knocked on every single door and they got every person who was undocumented and they got 10,000 people, right? And they did that in every single city across America and they got 1 million people. How would that not destroy the system that we have in place right now if we didn't 1,000% fix the system, not the people within it, but the system, because that is what's effed. Let's not lie.
Yeah. Well, the problem with that, not even going to say the problem, unfortunately, we have so many other issues at the top of the list. Mm-hmm. Not that we're ignoring that there should be a plan. We're ignoring the fact that we need to put the plan in place.
No. Here's the problem. If you go back and look, and we talked a bit about this in the last episode, if you go back and look, the Immigration Reform Bill of 2006 lays out the same crap we're dealing with right now. Right. They wouldn't deal with it then.
That's what I'm saying. They put it at a different level. So, unfortunately, they barred it down and put other things ahead of it. So it's not that, I'm not going to say that they're not doing it, but they aren't. But it's not on their radar of a level of importance. And it should be.
Well, but we're putting our cart before the horse then. Just like she said. If you got rid of that many people, you're going to annihilate your economy.
And your people. Like, imagine if... I support...
by not putting the plan in place.
Exactly.
Right. And, at this point... because we don't have a system in place, because it hasn't been prioritized for over 10 years. Say it was 2006. It's been more than 10 years. If we don't just burn the mother down and start over fresh, how on earth are we going to backtrack 10 years, start over, and then we're telling these people you did it wrong? That's my problem, is they haven't done anything. We didn't tell them or set them up for success. Yeah. We said, have fun, and now we're like, remember that party we invited you to? Whoops.
People use that excuse about the law and it kills me. And they say, you know what, it's your responsibility to know the law.
No.
And the part of that is true.
I mean, it's true, but
the amount of laws, rules, regulations in place, give me an individual who has them all known to themselves. I'm not even going to say memorized, but you should know them.
When they change
It's constantly. The same thing with policies and regulations on how to help these people. You, just like you said, we sit here you go. And your expectation is they should be adults and they should know them on their own. But these regulations, these obstacles, it's not easy. And why is no one there to help them? And then we're there to devalue and dehumanize them and say, you didn't do it right.
Well, and our system is wrong.
Well, and I've said that. I've gotten into many debates about that. And Brandon then will tell you, I'm really big on, you know what, it's not their fault.
Mm-hmm. No.
Absolutely.
We got to sit on Congress, and that's part of the point of this podcast, is to educate. And I know, you know what, just as we were starting, these guys are like, and my daughter's sitting here doing sound going, I don't give a shit about this. But it is something that truly you've got to look at, because it's not going to get better. It's going to continue to get worse. And Obama signed that executive thing for the Dreamers. Mm-hmm. You got these young people who are you guys' ages who worry every day whether they're going to be told they have to leave.
I can't even imagine.
And they know nothing else about what they have here.
Oh, exactly. And so then we've got these 4 ladies who like to be the squad.
Squad
204.
Who had the opportunity to vote for funding down there, make specifications if you wanted to, but we're too busy worried about squawking so that we get our attention and our time in the limelight. And here's my thing. I don't want you in office if you're not focused on getting this done. And you don't go on vacation. You don't leave for the end of session until this is fixed. And that's what the American people are really going to have to take a stand on. Congress has to fix this.
And that goes for a significant amount of politicians.
Oh.
Because they're there for a show, and you're not implementing what you're there for the American people. That's just a big problem with all of them.
Exactly.
And I don't know if this is, I just read this about the squad, but the people who used it, the phrase "the squad" first was what's her? Ocasio-Cortez, is that her name?
Is it Alexandria
Ocasio-Cortez. And then, most prominently, New York Times columnist Maureen Dowd and White House counselor Kellyanne Conway. I don't know if y'all know who Maureen Dowd is, but she is a very...
Maureen is an old name, so...
But she wrote this book, Why Are Men Necessary? Back when I was younger, and I read it. It's basically like, why do we need men to continue on with...
Well, put me on an island by myself.
It was a really interesting book, but she has a very interesting turn on feminism and the way the world works, and the fact that she's using this term, it would make me think it's a term of empowerment, and then Kellyanne Conway's using it, and so I'm like, I'm very confused as to what's happening here now.
Well, and these four are using it to say that they're bonded together because they are women of color.
Like squad goals.
You know, and I really don't have a problem with that if you are implementing it in a
nice
valuable way.
Yeah.
Make it a statement of, we are women of color in Congress representing the United States, and we have plans to help where we are. If they're not using their platform as effectively as they should, then I understand why people would have their aggressions about it.
Well, but here's my problem with what they're doing. They're stealing the limelight so that they can, in essence, say how great they are. Yeah. We went down there and we saw how horrific things were. What I want to hear is, damn it, I missed my opportunity to help fix this months ago. This is what we need to do. I don't want any more bitching and whining.
You want accountability is what you want. You want accountability in government. So you want to find a unicorn riding a rainbow of gumdrops.
That's what she wants, girl.
Is what you want. And you want it to be ridden by Ryan Reynolds on its way to my house. So you want the dream.
No, I want what they're paid for. There's a difference between a dream and what you're paid for.
Well played.
If we don't do our jobs at work, we're fired.
That's true.
Red flag behavior.
To you people listening at home, that is not a great thing to have.
But in all seriousness, these guys aren't accountable.
Yeah.
You could have done something about this, but now you're going to... And that's exactly what Mr. Jordan really, really raked him about. You've refused to even acknowledge that there's a crisis at the border. Mm. You wouldn't give any money. Now you're down there bitching, saying women are being forced to drink toilet water. Which, when it came out... Even before I heard it on TV or anything, I run a lot of stuff by my husband. He's at home a lot. He likes research. Yeah. He said, let me tell you what I found out about that toilet water incident. The way that their water system is set up down there, you have your water supply and your water tank here.
I get
your toilet is down here.
So it all runs through the same thing.
Yes. This is drinkable water. It's clean water being pumped in. It could come down here or it could go to the sink.
Yeah.
But AOC was insistent that they were told to drink toilet water. Mm. Okay. Well,
you know how we, as Americans, we exaggerate anything.
And here's my thing.
Doesn't matter if it's true.
And then they complained about the living conditions, that there were so many women and they were sleeping on concrete floors and they didn't have blankets and they didn't have this and they didn't have that. Why is that? Where these people are thousands and thousands of people overwhelmed down there because we've opened the door by giving people medical care. Undocumented can get better medical care than we can because if you walk into an emergency room, they can't turn you away. But the first thing they ask you, where's your insurance? How are you going to pay for this?
I don't know. Like the first thing, and I think it's just like a broken, like bleeding heart type thing. And it's because the first thing I think of is with my heart, and then I shut that down, and then I think with my noggin. But the first thing I think of is like, imagine you've just been through hell, right? Like the end of the world. Your family has been just like my absolute worst day, right? My worst medical crisis in this world. And I walk into an ER and I'm like bleeding from everywhere. And I walk in and I'm like, I need help. And they say no. And it's because I'm from Argentina. And I'm in the worst place I've ever been in my life. And just because I'm from Argentina and there was a dictator, or, you know, like let's say Uganda or wherever I was from, right? I don't know if either of those two countries have any sort of conflicts. I'm just saying countries. No one come at me.
Come on, disclaimer.
Right? But a foreign country, right? There was some kind of issue that I had nothing to do with. I fled so that I could save my life. And now I've had some car accident or something. I'm coming into an ER and I need help. And someone says, no, you're from the wrong place.
Well, I don't have a problem with them getting the health care.
Right. It's just like I understand why we want to open our doors everywhere we can. But then the problem is we don't know what to do once we've opened those doors. We're like, everyone stays over.
But we have to close the door.
Right.
That's the problem.
Because we let too many people
Well,
in the door, and then we got inundated.
If you come through, there are many, I forget how many checkpoints the one Border Patrol guy said that there was. Let's just say 40 for just easy math. That there are 40 legal checkpoints along the 1,594 miles of southern border. It's not secure though. There are areas like the Rio Grande where they just come swimming across. It's the illegal people. Get your treatment.
Right.
But your ass is going home.
Okay.
I can respect that. Honestly.
I get that. Like, if we are leaving people to go back to abusive situations, that's where I have a problem. That's where I'm like, what the hell is wrong with us that we can't put something in place to figure this out and people aren't left in some sort of horrible situation
because our
where they're
Democrats and our Republicans have taken opposite stands and are fighting.
Because they're children.
Congress Congress hates Trump so badly.
They're not the only ones.
Well, and I had a debate the other night, and you can go to my Facebook and you can see it.
Okay.
A guy that I know from when I had my convenience store. He was one of my sales guys for food. Love the guy. We've had many, many conversations, and we're on opposite ends of this. He hates Trump so badly that he can't see past that. I even told him, you need to take a day and watch Lifetime movies, sappy Lifetime movies.
Why would you tell someone
and watch
that?
birds out the window? Because he's giving himself a damn heart attack.
Yeah.
But why are Lifetime movies the way to fix that?
Right, though,
because they're soothing and happy.
No, Sally got beaten by her husband and
Not
then got
those.
shot in
I'm
the face
talking
by a
about-
puppy. That's how those
I
movies
remember
work.
watching the Mary Kay Letourneau story. I don't know.
Anyways,
Like
back to the serious
But
part
she's
of
right,
it.
though. People have fueled so much hatred in
That's true.
themselves
That's true.
by their hate of Trump that they are forgetting
confusing
that they know we
policy
have
with people.
obligations. If you're dissatisfied, then we need to be making
Solutions, not problems.
instead of fueling the hatred. I understand the man has said racist and sexist and devaluing and dehumanizing
Rapey
things.
Yeah.
We all know this at this stage. But giving yourself self-hatred and anger is not going to change it.
It's true.
And that's what, out of these four women, I wanted to see them. I'd have so much more respect for them if they stood up on that stage and said, we dropped the ball. We could have done this, and we didn't realize to the extent this problem is. But instead, they stood there blaming Border Patrol people for bad behavior, not having things the way it should be. You know, a lot of these people are coming illegally. They've also found that they're using the kid tactic. People, to get their kids out of the country, are selling their kids or renting their kids to felons and whatever to get across. And like the one sheriff, I forget what city he was from, kept debating with the news person But do you think that separating children from their parents is the way to go? Is that something that's good? He said, if I break the law and I come and arrest you, I'm going to separate you from your kids. Why is an American citizen under the legal aspect any different than an illegal person? And it is a statute. I don't remember what they said the numbers were. It is illegal to enter the United States without proper documentation, whether it's a visa for education, a diversity lottery, a work visa, any of those things. It's illegal.
I think the problem is that it's illegal, yes, but we're not offering any sort of alternative to these people. They've come from a terrible situation.
Wait a minute. We're talking about the ones that are still here that you're talking about.
Correct.
I'm talking about the ones that are just now coming across the border.
They're just getting here, right? And they're just arriving. They have these kids that they're renting to people, which is terrible. But
Take Johnny for 6 hours, please.
That's terrible. Don't ever say that again unless you mean an adult man named Johnny.
But they're
and then
in these detention centers awaiting their hearings.
Right. What I guess what I mean is that it's not their fault our system is so broken. It is not their fault that we cannot get our crap together. It is not their fault that millions of people that came before them, we said, this will work for now, and then they come along and we're like, oh, you know what we're gonna do? We're finally gonna lay a hard line in the sand and then not expect people to get all upset about it.
Here's the problem. Past
I'm
laws, past rules, we'll say, is because children cannot be in the same facility with adults that are not their parents.
Correct.
So they get here and we find out this isn't really your parent. They have to be separated.
Correct.
Even if they were their parent, you can't put these small children in
with adult men.
All of these, where there are adult men.
But we don't think their parents can protect them. They're their parents.
But you're talking about probably a fenced in area, maybe 3 times this. Do parents have their eyes on their kids every minute? No.
It's just breeding ground for fights and problems. But I'm not saying that our solution is right. I'm saying that we don't have a solution.
That's it.
And then we're getting upset with the people who come with the problem.
I think from the get-go, we didn't think about what the conditions were going to be.
No.
Oh, no.
Because if that was your obligation to say, you know what, until then we have to detain these people, and what they're identifying them on the news is concentration camps. And to me, I think they really are modern day, in a sense, concentration camps. But we didn't effectively draw out what the plan would be. We're going to take these people in. Where they're going to sleep? Are we going to feed them? What's going to be the feeding schedule? Are they going to have necessities? Where was that thought about other than we just have to detain them?
Okay, here's what I wrote about the concentration camp issue. If you truly think these are concentration camps, then each of you in Congress and the Senate need to get your asses down there and supervise what you have created.
Oh.
You better really adopt a Border Patrol member because you've tied their hands and you gave them no help in an impossible situation. They've been put in a bad light and awful working conditions right along with the detainees.
So then I meant to make that point earlier of the affiliation between the border and the detention centers and the Border Patrol and the congressmen and women.
Correct.
The Border Patrol don't report to Congress. Right. Who do they report to?
Homeland Security.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So then Homeland Security should be the ones, if they report to someone, if Homeland Security is reporting to someone, then that's a different story. If Homeland Security is reporting to the congressmen and women about decisions that need to be made, then I would understand. But if Homeland Security is the direct enforcer of what's happening at the borders and the employees of the Border Patrol, I'm not necessarily going to say I'm going to attack these congressmen and women for what's going on down here. Do they have a connection? Absolutely. You are a politician, and you are a very powerful politician.
But that's who provides the funding. If Congress and the Senate will not come off with the money, That's why these guys' hands are tied.
Then I will agree with that. If you are responsible for direct funding, I will go ahead and say, okay, you are at a more liability and responsibility at the state. You make the decisions for what's going to impact these people here.
How many times did you see Pelosi on TV say they were not going to give in to Trump? They were not going to give him any money. I believe...
But he wanted a wall.
But that's what, you know what? And I have to come back and go, we need to enforce the wall, because how...
Can that money not be given to what's happening right now,
The wall wasn't my issue. When he realized that the wall was not going to happen and that it was going to be, difficult to get or whatever, because people disagree with it, where was your backup plan? If you could not implement the wall, because I'm not going to say I agree or disagree with it, I still don't have my opinions on it or not.
Yeah, no.
If you can't get it, what was the backup plan to say, well, if I can't get my wall, what else can I do?
You declare national emergency.
Which is what he was going to do.
No, which is what he did.
Here's my question back to you guys. How do you stop the bleeding without putting stitches in the problem? The problem is an unsecure border.
Mm-hmm.
But by putting that, it's just that sheer amount of money. When you could fix the infrastructure. No, you could fix the infrastructure of the entire system of what to do. Let's say if Joey gets across the border.
Johnny.
You didn't need to stop with Johnny.
I wish I had the numbers, because...
But give more money to the Border Patrol. Give more money to the people down there.
There should be a plan implemented first. Make up a plan of what you need and what you
didn't used to be such a problem.
This is the egg before the chicken before the egg.
Like in the 1950s, do you remember hearing about this big of a problem?
No, it wasn't as big a problem, and I tell you why.
They weren't coming as fast.
Well, not only that...
Or did we have a system that could handle them as fast
we have
as they
never
came,
had a system.
Proportionately, right?
They've never had one.
Here's why we have such a problem. Because of the Latin America or the South American countries, because of the dictators and the cartels, they're running people out.
Which, again, not their fault.
No, it's not their fault. Mm-hmm. But Mexico won't take any responsibility. That's why Trump put the tariffs in place, and he lifted them because Mexico said, okay, we will take responsibility for part of this. One of the things that Mark gave us in past episodes was, you know what? Mexico's not our big issue. That's where the corporations come from. We've moved Ford plants down there. That Nashville boot manufacturer moved their operation down there. So for the most part, a lot of your Mexican population has decent paying jobs. They're not worried about getting up here anymore.
Okay.
It's coming from Guatemala, Ecuador, and all that. Maybe the wall needs to be built down there. Maybe that's where we need to enforce it, so that it's tougher to get to Mexico, so it's tougher to get to us.
We need to put a border where J.P. Morgan got his cocaine from.
Hey,
I got to read up on this J.P. Morgan thing. I missed
with
that.
Every withdrawal, so I don't go through withdrawal, and it's delightful.
Well, listen, I think we have talked about a significant amount, and this was good stuff. People, we need you to weigh in on this. I need you to Facebook message us at the Real Solution Podcast. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Real Solution Pod. The Real Solution Podcast. Also hit up Online Dating Dumpster Fire just in case you need some fun.
But we really want to hear solutions to these problems. You know, what you think, why you think the wall should, why you think the wall shouldn't. Because our issue's not just the border. We established that in the past. Yep. It's your overstays on your air and your sea travels as well. Because we have no fully operational enforcement agency.
And these ICE raids ain't gonna cut it. So we have got to work something out.
Well, to clarify what they said about the ICE raids is it got blown out of proportion, because it wasn't just like Laura Lou Who over here who was a DACA recipient or something. Mm-hmm. The people they were going after to remove were people who had violated the law, broken the law, had already been told by a judge that you're going to be deported. Gotcha. It wasn't random raids, but that's not how they get publicity. And on one of our episodes is going to be about how rampant the media is. They just tell you what they want. so that they send everybody off half-cocked. And that's what happened. If you go back and listen, they will tell you the ICE raids were only, these go on every day.
Yeah.
It was nothing out of the ordinary. It was one day they picked to blow out of proportion. But the only people they went after were people who broke the law. Not the law of being here illegally. They committed a crime. That's why they were being deported. And I'm sorry, they should be deported. If Laura gets caught embezzling, or Brandon gets caught robbing a bank, they're going to take you away from your kids because you're going to prison.
Yeah. And prison, we can get into the prison system
Oh,
another
God.
day.
That's a Danielle one.
Private and public prisons, a mess. So, guys, hit us up at www.therealsolutionpodcast.com. We will revisit this on the next episode. I need your thoughts. We need your thoughts.
Twitter.
All that.
Facebook.
Twitter.
Instagram.
All that good stuff.
Any way you want to communicate,
Twitter.
but communicate.
So we can work on a real solution.